Look at them, so desperate to live, they'll follow it anywhere. That's the immutable law of the desert. Control the water, and you control everything. But I don't have to tell you that, being a true man of the West as you are.
Oh, yeah. The West is the best.
This is from my private stock. Vintage rainwater from the Great Deluge. Oh, not Noah's deluge. Good heavens, I'm not that old.
I guess power has its privileges.
You make a good point, son. But with privilege comes responsibility. You see them, Mr. Rango? All my friends and neighbors? It's a hard life here. Very hard. Do you know how they make it through each and every day? They believe. They believe it's going to be better. They believe that the water will come. They believe against all odds and all evidence that tomorrow will be better than today.
Who controls the Suez Canal? Egypt controls the Suez Canal. The Suez Canal is a one-directional canal. 6 hours a day, the boats travel one direction. 6 hours a day, they travel the other direction. And there have been plans in the works for years to get into this Palestinian Gaza territory, create a canal that would not be in control of Egypt. It would be in control of the United States, Israel, Great Britain, and any of their partners and allies. Why is that important? Because that is to try to solidify and maintain a colonizing control over resource movement and trade throughout that entire region of North Africa, what they call Middle East. We grow food, we can produce food, we got beautiful food out here, the place is beautiful. And there are people who've been studying international law and they know that it is codified white supremacy. Colonization, colonizers have continuously come to steal resources and eliminate indigenous people. Let's celebrate truth giving. The earth is truthful. Is our country truthful?
Dear fellow human, I think by now you have the feeling that something is not right about our current situation. But I also think that the many ill-founded conspiracy theories may have caused you to distance yourself from both the media scaremongering and from those who spread the conspiracy theories. Still, I hope you will listen to me for a moment, because as you watch this video, hundreds of millions of people worldwide are falling into poverty because of the measures that have been in place for so long. And although the biggest economic crisis that we will ever experience may not have affected you personally yet, it's only a matter of time before the ripple effects also reach you and your loved ones. This is not alarmism, but the harsh reality we face. I also think that we can limit the damage and even benefit from it if we are properly and objectively informed about our current situation. Therefore, I would like to show you some easy verifiable facts that I think are essential. Less than a handful of mega corporations dominate every aspect of our lives. That may seem like an exaggeration, but from the breakfast that's on the table in the morning, to the mattress we sleep on at night, and everything we do, put on, or consume in between, all are largely dependent on these corporations. These are investment companies of immense proportions, and they manage the major money flows on Earth. They are the protagonists of the play which we are currently witnessing. So as not to take up too much of your time, I've summarized the most important information as briefly as possible. How does it work? Let's take as an example a company like PepsiCo, which is the parent company of many of the most popular soft drinks and snacks in the world. There appear to be many different competing brands, but they all come from the factories of a small number of corporations that together have a monopoly on the industry. Within the packaged food industry, there are a number of other major companies such as Unilever, the Coca-Cola Company, Mondelez, and Nestlé. On this image, you see that virtually every well-known brand in the packaged food industry belongs to one of these corporations. You can easily get this kind of information. You can verify it on the websites of the relevant brands or on Wikipedia. Companies of this size are usually publicly traded and have a board where the largest shareholders call the shots. On websites like Yahoo Finance, we can find detailed company information, including who the largest shareholders of these companies are. Let's take PepsiCo again as an example. We see that 73.14% of the shares are held by no less than 3,379 institutional investors. These include investment companies, mutual funds, insurance companies, banks, and in some cases, governments. Let's look at who the largest institutional investors of PepsiCo are. As you can see, just 10 out of the 3,379 investors account for almost 1/3 of all shares. The combined share capital of these top 10 has a value of approximately $60 billion. But of those 10 investors, 3 own more shares than the remaining 7. Let's remember their names and let's see who owns the most shares at the Coca-Cola company, Pepsi's big competitor. We see that just like with PepsiCo, the majority of the shares are held by institutional investors. Let's look at the top 10 and start with the last one of them. 4 out of these 6 institutional investors we also saw at the last 6 of PepsiCo. These are Norton Trust, JP Morgan Chase, Geode Capital Management, and Wellington Management. Now, let's look at the 4 largest shareholders. 3 of these we also saw in the top 4 at PepsiCo. They are BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. And there's another one, Berkshire Hathaway. These are the 4 largest investment companies on the planet. PepsiCo and Coca-Cola are anything but competitors. But also the other big companies that own many brands, such as Unilever, Mondelez, and Nestlé, are owned by the same small group of institutional investors. And you don't only find these names in the packaged food industry. Many mining companies. This small club of investment companies, banks, and mutual funds are also the largest shareholders in the primary industries, where raw materials come from. If we look on Wikipedia for the largest mining companies in the world, we see that their shareholders are the same institutional investors we see everywhere else. The same goes for the largest agricultural companies in the world that our entire food industry depends on. For example, they own Bayer, the parent company of Monsanto, the world's largest seed producer, which produces 90% of all the cotton seed on Earth, as well as the majority of all other seeds. But these institutional investors are also the shareholders of the largest textile manufacturing companies in the world, and even the numerous popular clothing brands that turn the cotton into the clothes we wear are owned by the same group of investors. Whether we have the world's largest solar panel producers or the largest oil refineries, the shares are managed by the same companies. They own the tobacco companies, who produce all the popular tobacco brands in the world. But they also own all the major companies in the pharmaceutical industry and the scientific institutes that produce the drugs. They own the companies that produce our metals and raw materials, and the entire automobile, aircraft, and arms industry where those metals and raw materials are processed. They own the companies that build our electronics. They own the big department stores and online marketplaces. And even the payment methods that we use to pay for their products. because I want to keep my story as short as possible, I've decided to only show the tip of the iceberg. If you decide to investigate on your own, using the sources that you've just seen, then you will discover that even many of the most well-known insurance companies, banks, construction companies, telephone companies, restaurant chains, and cosmetic brands are owned by the same institutional investors we just saw. These institutional investors are, as I told you earlier, mainly investment companies, banks and insurance companies. They are in turn also owned by shareholders. Now, what is the most amazing thing? All of these institutional investors own each other's shares, and together they form an immense network that we can compare to a pyramid. The smaller institutional investors are owned by larger investors, who in turn belong to even larger investors. The visible top of this pyramid consists of only two companies, and we have seen their names many times by now.
We believe in a project that goes beyond mere self-preservation.
They are
We are
Vanguard
committed to
and
creating a
BlackRock.
system of aquaponics and animal husbandry, not
The
just
power
to
of these two
alleviate shortages in
companies is
challenging
something
times,
we
but
can
to
barely
challenge the
imagine.
global system of injustice.
Not
Our
only are they
vision
the
is an
largest
apostolic
institutional
economy where
investors of
communities
every
thrive
major
in
company
harmony
on
with the
Earth,
land. We aim to
they
provide
also
organic
own the
food
other
free from
institutional investors
pesticides
of
and
those
chemical
companies,
fertilizers,
giving them a
promoting
complete
sustainable
monopoly.
techniques to preserve the health of both the population
According
and the
to a
planet.
report by Bloomberg,
Join us in building
one
a
of the most
self-sustainable
respected
future
institutions
where
in the
no one
world
will
in the
face
field of
scarcity.
financial data and analytics,
Join us in a green
experts
revolution.
expect that
We
by
are building something
2028,
unprecedented,
both companies will
a space that
collectively
combines
manage about $20
aquaponics,
trillion
fish
in
farming,
investments,
sheep,
and in the
goats,
process
and
will
birds.
own
We
almost
want to create a
everything on
world
Earth.
where families achieve independence from the globalist system. This project
The
is
same
end.
Bloomberg called
Join us in a
BlackRock the
green
fourth
revolution.
arm of government.
We are building
because
something
it is the only
unprecedented,
non-government
a
entity
space that
that
combines
has a close
aquaponics,
relationship with the
fish
federal
farming,
banks,
sheep,
also
goats,
called the
and
central
birds.
banks.
We want to create a world where families achieve independence from the globalist
BlackRock
system.
not only lends
This
money to
project
the
is
federal
end.
banks, but is also their principal advisor and the developer of the computer system that the federal banks use. Dozens of BlackRock employees had senior positions in the White House during the Bush and the Obama administrations, and currently under Joe Biden. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink is a welcome guest with many heads of state and politicians, and understandably so. He's the face of the company that pulls the strings. Yet Larry Fink does not pull the strings himself. In fact, BlackRock itself is owned by shareholders. And if we look at who those shareholders are, we come to a strange conclusion. We see that BlackRock's largest shareholder is Vanguard, and this is where it gets dark. Vanguard itself has a unique structure that makes it impossible to see who its shareholders or clients are. The elite who own Vanguard don't want anyone to know that they are the owners of the most powerful company on Earth. But of course, this is no secret to those who are willing to look into it. Reports by Oxfam and Bloomberg show that 1% of the world's population collectively owns more money than the other 99%. Indeed, Oxfam claims that as much as 82% of all the money earned in 2017 went to this 1% of people. Naturally, those who own the most powerful company on Earth would also be the richest among this 1%. In other words, they are part of the 0.001%. Forbes.
If you want to see this entire documentary about the financial world and the current kings, look for the respective link in the description. But keep watching this very important video. We have the solution to this endemic chaos.
We believe in a project that goes beyond mere self-preservation. We are committed to creating a system of aquaponics and animal husbandry, not just to alleviate shortages in challenging times, but to challenge the global system of injustice. Our vision is an apostolic economy where communities thrive in harmony with the land. We aim to provide organic food free from pesticides and chemical fertilizers, promoting sustainable techniques to preserve the health of both the population and the planet. Join us in building a self-sustainable future where no one will face scarcity.
Join us in a green revolution. We are building something unprecedented, a space that combines aquaponics, fish farming, sheep, goats, and birds. We want to create a world where families achieve independence from the globalist system. This project is N. Join us in a green revolution. We are building something unprecedented, a space that combines aquaponics, fish farming, sheep, goats, and birds. We want to create a world where families achieve independence from the globalist system.
Spending your hard-earned money on long-term food storage or expensive growing kits. Something that will keep your family fed, no matter how bad inflation gets, no matter how empty grocery stores become, and no matter what evil the government has planned. I say in this short video, like 37,000 men and women all over the world have done before you, you'll find yourself grinning ear to ear like a love-struck teenager, saving hundreds or even thousands of dollars on inflated groceries, enjoying a never-ending supply of fresh, delicious, calorie-dense food, protecting friends and family, and be the hero when shit hits